Good morning, everybody. Good morning. This is Luciana Turner of the LT&A Consulting Group, bringing you this morning's edition of Contracting Chatter. Let me tell you, I do not feel 100% this morning, so I'm not going to be before you long. But anyway, excuse me. Contracting Chatter is designed to be that up-leveled conversation around government contracting. We discuss appropriations, legislation. We discuss budgets. We discuss strategy. This year in 2022, I plan to bring on a few guests to kind of bring their perspective in there. Now, for those of you who know me, you know that I have an extensive background in government contracting. For those of you who don't, let me introduce myself. My name is Luciana Turner. I have been in government contracting, inclusive of my nonprofit years, since the year 2000. Most of that time has been in compliance. And that's basically where I ensure that you do what you're basically supposed to do. Now, government contracting have a set of rules and regulations that are in addition to the standard accounting practices. Government contracting follow CAS, which is the cost accounting standards. And in addition to that, some agencies are bound by something called FAR, which is the Federal Acquisition Regulations. We also discuss that on this platform. So this year, I'm really going to lean into that compliance focus a lot more, because there is a lot more chatter this year around audits and audit preparedness and audit awareness. And I want to bring that to my audience. So I wanted to share that with you this morning. So I'm going to just give you like a brief overview of some things that are going on. Today's live is really just an integrity live, because quite frankly, I don't feel well, but it's an integrity live. My full presentation we're going to do tomorrow as the weekly wrap up. I go live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Tomorrow I will be including going live on Clubhouse. I also allow Q&A on Fridays. So if you have questions, you can submit them into my DMs. And if there's enough time left, I will answer the questions. Now, when you're submitting questions, please submit broad questions. I will not answer company-specific questions, and that's really for your benefit. You should not want your company-specific, identifiable, proprietary information out in the great beyond. So make it very specific. Make your question specific enough to be answered, but vague enough so that nobody can get company proprietary data from it. So Fridays will be Q&A. They can be submitted in advance in the DMs or via email at info@ltandagroup.com. I have all this in my descriptions by the end of the day, because I want to make the Chatter platform a lot more interactive this year. Excuse me, a lot more interactive this year. So let's go. From a compliance perspective, there's something called the Office of Federal Contract and Compliance Program. They're the office that ensures government contractors that operate in the federal space are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They have a affirmative action plans in place. They have their EEOC plans in place. And typically, they have focused mostly on tier one contractors. Well, this year, they will be requiring all federal contractors to certify that they have a affirmative action plan. Now, previously, that has been done on the state level, and it's been done through the Department of Transportation of all places. And that's because the Department of Transportation has the federal mandate that gets pushed down to the state level. But this year, the Office of Federal Contract Compliance is going to push that narrative to all federal contractors. So if you're looking to expand your government contracting into the federal space, or if you're just looking to get started in contracting within the federal space, that is something you should have on your radar. That is something you should be quite aware of. So, and I'm going to tell you this, when this rule gets pushed down, I sincerely doubt they do a size requirement. Because the way I was reading it, and because they haven't finalized the final rule, but the way it's reading is if you're doing any work in the Fed space, you're going to be required to have an affirmative action plan, period. And the way the federal space operates, they don't have a size requirement. So if there's a subcontracting requirement, that requirement is for everybody, whether you're a big business or small business. So that will also get pushed, that's for everybody. Unless you are unless you are certified as a small business or you have that certification yourself, those certifications get passed on no matter what. So keep that in mind, that certification is out there. Keep in mind that there are different requirements on the federal space from the state space. And I'm doing a little rambling this morning. Forgive me. I'm not really feeling that well. And I think I'm going to close up this morning. Operating in the federal space, there are certain policies and procedures every government contractor is required. I will be going over that in detail this year as a part of the Chatter project. In government contracting, and I'm going to close with this. In government contracting, there's a lot of conversations around NAICS codes, and there's a lot of conversations around opportunities, and there's a lot of conversations about writing proposals, but there's very few and very little conversation around compliance. And quite frankly, it's because most people can't have those conversations. I have those conversations because I have 15 plus years experience interacting with DCAA, Department of Labor. This year, once I get a few more classes under my belt, I can add the IRS into that. I know a lot of people are cringing right now, but by the end of this year, I'll be able to add the IRS to that list. So compliance is what I do. And that is what companies really, especially in the federal space, need to focus on. Who cares if you win a contract if you have a non-compliant business? Because a non-compliance is very expensive. Matter of fact, I believe one morning on Chatter, I'm going to walk through how the government calculates a non-compliance. And I think once you see government math, you'll take it seriously. There's government math and your math. Government math is worse than Common Core math because you're going to look at the numbers and be like, how did they get that? But then when you walk through it, it's like, I don't want to pay that. Get your compliance together. It's not sexy. It's not the multi-million-dollar conversations, which is why people don't have it. It isn't the conversations you can read in a book and call yourself an expert, which I have an issue with that. Thank you. You can lose millions of dollars. Companies have gone out of business from non-compliance, from one non-compliance. So I'm going to close today, but tomorrow morning I'm going to be a lot better. Still recovering from COVID. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to talk about some Pentagon funding. We're going to delve a little more into compliance. If you have questions that you want me to answer, shoot me a DM on IG or Facebook. As I said, I go live on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can get the notifications I'm live and post the questions there. See, you can lose. One of my commenters said that she knows somebody that lost a $25 million contract with the Department of Labor over a non-compliance. It's real out here. You know what? I think I'm going to include that. Case laws this year. I'm not an attorney. I don't play one on TV, but I think presenting real cases will make this real for people. It's people go into government contracting not understanding that it's a beast of itself. And although they're not timely with their audits, when they do come, they go all the way back to the beginning of time. And there's no such thing as I'll get to it later. It is easier to do it now. I'll never forget my first audit when I went to government contracting, went to compliance. My first audit covered the years of 2001, 2002, 2003 for a multi-billion-dollar company. We're talking, and the audit samples were a couple of hundred of transactions. Now, granted, some of you are like, well, my company isn't that big, but do you want to wait until you grow and the government comes in and says, okay, we want to test your organization, and they go back. They don't test you where you are, they go back. And there's no such thing as I didn't know. They don't use that as an excuse. So I'm going to close today. Join me tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. for the weekend, for the Friday edition of Contractors Chatter. I'm Luciana Turner. I will see you on tomorrow.